On November 10th, 2015, when he returned home from the gym, Davy Blackburn discovered his worst fear waiting for him on Sunnyfield Court in Indianapolis. This event changed his life forever. His pregnant wife shot in their home. The person who shot her is still on the run. At this point, police are trying to figure out how and why this supposed theft turned deadly inside the house. Hi, and welcome back to our channel. If you are new here, please consider subscribing, as it helps us motivate to create more intriguing content for you. Let's have a look at the tragic true crime documentary of Amanda Blackburn. Amanda Blackburn, who was 12 weeks pregnant, lay on the living room floor, partly naked, badly hurt, and covered in blood. When he ran upstairs, he saw their 15-month-old son Weston sleeping soundly in his cot. Davy called 911 right away because Amanda was still living but in critical condition. Sadly, Amanda and her unborn child would not make it through this terrible struggle. On November 11th, 2015, Amanda passed away. Someone awful must have done something terrible to a pregnant woman. Was it just a bad robbery gone wrong, or were there much worse things going on? Get ready to learn more about the secrets of this case, which has been officially solved but still interests a lot of people who think there's more to it than meets the eye. Amanda was born on July 31st, 1987 in Muskegon, Michigan. Her parents, Bill and Robin, were very happy to have her. She had a big brother named James and a big sister named Amber. Amanda was the youngest in her family and was loved very much. In return, she was always willing to help others. Amanda finished from Elkhart Christian Academy in 2006. She then went to Pensacola Christian College in Pensacola, Florida, and got an associate's degree there in 2008. Amanda was confident and graceful in everything she did, and she was called both beautiful and graceful. Her determination to keep going showed what kind of person she was, and she never gave up her faith in God. Her family's strong Christian values profoundly influenced her, particularly her dad's role as a preacher at the First Baptist Church in Elkhart. Amanda was known for her beautiful smile, and she loved getting people to join together in their faith in Jesus. She was sure that the person she would marry would share her strong Christian beliefs, so she looked for the right person and found Davy Blackburn. Davy was born in Tuscaloosa on November 2nd, 1985. He first went to Tuscaloosa County High School and then switched to Shades Valley High School. He went to college at Southern Wesleyan University in South Carolina, while his father was pastor at Brookview Wesleyan Church in Birmingham, Alabama. He finished with a degree in religion and media communication. A blind date set Amanda and Davy up with Gavin, Davy's best friend. The date was set up by Amanda's sister Amber. They met on a blind date. It was October 1st, 2005, and they were all at a concert with the Christian band Hawk Nelson. Though they didn't think the date would go well, it was the start of something wonderful. They fell in love quickly, but it was hard for them to be together because they went to different schools and could only see each other during breaks, which were usually for 2 weeks at a time. To make it work, they even went to therapy to learn how to talk to each other better. Even though they lived far apart, they made the most of their time together because they knew they had found the one. Davy thought of Amanda as the missing piece that would make his life whole in a way that could never be replaced. Besides Davy, Amanda was very close with her sister Amber. They told each other everything. Whether they were running marathons together or walking down the aisle with their father on August 1st, 2008, they shared important times in their lives. Amanda and Davy Blackburn got married soon after Amanda graduated. After getting married, the pair first made their home in Greenville, South Carolina, where Davy worked as an assistant pastor at New Spring Church. But the pull of their old home grew stronger, and by 2012 they had moved back to Indianapolis. Together, these two young people started the process of making Resonate Church, a place where young people can pray and get help. The word of their church was perfectly tuned to reach the hearts of young people. Amanda and Davy were both very devoted to their church, and Davy was the pastor. They spent a lot of time counseling and guiding the church group as a whole, having long conversations about things like relationship advice, marital problems, and close relationships. Along with the church, they used their own experiences in religion to help and guide people who were in need, and their family started to grow. The couple's boy Weston was born on July 28, 2014. Amanda was a wonderful mom who gave her whole heart and all of her time to her little boy. Because of this, it was easy for them to decide to have more children. In 2015, Amanda got pregnant for the second time. However, Davy and Amanda were sure that their second child would be a girl, but they never took a test to confirm this. The baby was supposed to be born on May 18, 2016, and they even chose the name Everett for him. It's too bad that Amanda never saw that day. The Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department got a scary 911 call from Davy Blackburn on the fateful morning of November 10, 2015. Just after 8:30 a.m., Amanda was found lying down in her home. Indianapolis police officers quickly went to the Blackburn home in the 2800 block of Sunnyfield Court on the northwest side. In order to figure out what happened before this terrible finding, they started an investigation. He said that the day started out like any other. After waking up around 4:30 a.m. and reading his Bible for a while, he left for the fitness gym around 6:00 a.m. He said that the door wasn't locked because they only had one house key with them at the time, and it was on his wife's key ring. Davy said that he had been to the gym for about an hour and then finished working out and started driving back home. During his drive, he was talking on the phone with a friend, and they kept talking even after he got home around 7:30 a.m. Davy chose to finish his talk in his car in the driveway so as not to bother Amanda and their 15-month-old son Weston. Around 8:20 a.m., the call ended, and he went into the house, where he found a scene right out of a horror movie. Davy said that at first he wasn't sure what had happened because he thought Amanda might have passed out because she was dizzy and a decorative ladder in the living room had fallen on her. But when he looked more closely, he saw that her pants were gone. Her pants were folded neatly under her left thigh, and her shirt was pulled over her head like someone was trying to take it off. Despite lying in a pool of blood, she was still breathing. When the police went into the house, they saw Amanda in exactly the same state that Davy had described. She was barely alive, and doctors were fighting hard to bring her back to life. Since that didn't work, they rushed her to the hospital in a race against time to save both her and her future child. As this very important situation played out, the probe began. Even though Davy had never been suspected, it was normal practice to start an investigation by taking a close look at the spouse. So, the police went to the Ella fitness gym where Davy had been that morning. After a thorough check of his alibi, Davy was quickly cleared of any participation in the murder. After this important step was taken, the investigation could focus on the crime scene itself. The police officers saw right away that there were a lot of problems at the scene. Credit cards and Amanda's wallet were scattered across the floor. A pack of Swisher Sweet cigars lay open on the kitchen counter, and a decorative lamp was broken near where Amanda lay. These signs pointed to a confrontation. It was especially strange that there were cigars around since neither Amanda nor Davy smoked. There were still traces of the fighting and violence that had happened just hours before in the scene. Amanda was fighting for her life while the police were hard at work looking for hints. Sadly, she would not make it. Her family still grieving over her murder and is demanding justice. The horrible and cruel violence that was done to Amanda was shown in the autopsy report. Davy thought at first that she might have been hit in the head, but the report showed that she had been shot 3 times, once in the arm, once in the upper back, and finally in the back of the head where she died. Not only did she have gunshot wounds, but she also had scratches on her left face, a split lip, and the loss of a lower tooth, all of which painted a disturbing picture of the terrible physical abuse she had been through. During the investigation, large DNA samples were taken all over the house, including in the crime scene. A roll of duct tape, earphones, a bullet, and loose change on the floor were some of the things and pieces of evidence that were found during this thorough investigation. Altogether, these results gave a very clear picture of how chaotic the crime scene was. The bullet's caliber was also found to be either .38 or 9 millimeters, which gives us a very important clue about the possible weapon used in this terrible event. Inside the house, another important hint was found. Officials found Amanda's cell phone in her bedroom and looked it over. They saw that she had an email warning at 7:53 a.m. letting her know about a strange transaction involving her Chase debit card the morning of the break-in. After more research, it was found that the bank card had been stolen. This piece of digital information set off a series of steps in the detectives' investigation that led them to a series of ATM activities. When these transactions were looked into further, surveillance video was found that caught a suspect trying to withdraw money. The person in the video was trying to hide his name by putting a pink shirt over his face. This was a big step forward in the investigation. He also had a dark vest on. There was no doubt that the home invasion had started out as a theft that sadly turned into a deadly fight. At about the same time, a trend became too clear to ignore when a number of burglaries happened in the same area. At 5:23 a.m. on November 10, 2014, Jaza Brooke, who lived in the same neighborhood, called 911 to report a break-in. The woman told the cops that she woke up at 4:30 a.m. and her cell phone was gone from her bedroom. As she went further, she saw that her sliding glass door was open. Someone had messed with her plants and pots, and her Apple MacBook, purse, headphones, car keys, and even a pack of Swisher cigars were gone. Even scarier, her 2007 Chrysler Sebring wasn't in the parking lot. The investigation also showed that the apartment's surveillance cameras caught still pictures of the three people entering the building. The thieves got in by cutting the porch screen and then opening the sliding door. The burglars' names were not made public, but it was believed that they were male. But they turned off the camera during the break-in, which made it even harder to identify them. 8:17 a.m. The second 911 call of the day was made by a neighbor who lived on the same street as Davy and Amanda Allison Becker. She said that she hadn't been at home that morning, and that when she got home, she found that someone had broken in. 4 TVs, a MacBook Pro, a Tiffany pearl necklace, a pink jumper, and a few bed sheets were taken by the thieves. The bed sheets were probably used to wrap the stolen items for transport. As the investigation went on, it became clear that this flat also had a security camera, which had been turned off at 5:36 a.m. just like the others. Detectives were able to piece together that the thieves got into the apartment by cutting through the porch screen and finding a way to open the sliding glass door's padlock. To make things even scarier, it looked like the thieves had settled in and started drinking wine and beer before leaving the empty bottles behind. These unsettling actions showed that the thieves were very sure of themselves, which was scary. At this point, detectives think that the same group may have been behind the string of thefts in the area and may have also killed Amanda and her unborn child. As the police asked people in the neighborhood about any strange actions that happened on the day of the robberies, they did find a number of people who had seen strange things happen. A person in the neighborhood mentioned that just before 7 a.m. on that fateful morning, she observed a guy walking in front of her house. He was dressed in all black and had a hood over his head. One more witness said they saw the same man at 7:10 a.m., talking loudly on his phone while pulling his shirt over his face. Another neighbor said they saw a Sebring sit and pull up next to the man. The man was seen getting into the car, which then drove off quickly. This new knowledge helped investigators cast a wider net, which led to the discovery of another important clue. One resident's camera caught both the car and the man on surveillance video. Another witness said that in the early hours of November 10, 2015, she heard 2 loud noises and the screams of a woman. This disturbing detail made the police think that this could have been the time when Amanda was attacked. As it turned out, the stolen Chrysler Sebring was the key piece that clearly linked the series of thefts together. Amazingly, it was found abandoned on the side of the road near the Blackburn home on November 11, 2015, the very day Amanda died so sadly. Some of the stolen things were found in the car, along with an ATM receipt, showing that Amanda's debit card was used to try to make a $500 transaction at 6:36 a.m., but was declined. The surveillance video from the ATM, which showed a man with his face hidden by a pink sweater, supported this proof. As was already said, though, this time another important piece of proof came to light. On security video taken at a nearby ATM at 6:54 a.m., the same man was seen making a $400 transaction. This strong evidence showed that Amanda had been attacked almost right away after Davy left the house that morning. For whatever reason, DNA samples were taken from the car and sent for testing. The results were then run through CODIS to see if they were a match. The police finally had a suspect under their watch after November 17, 2015, when they got a DNA match. A guy named Jalen Watson, who who was 21 years old, was linked to the DNA found in the car. It's interesting that Jalen had just been released from jail on August 6, 2015, after being convicted of burglary and was now on parole. By looking through Jalen's Facebook page, police found a link between him and Diana Gordon, a 24-year-old man who was also on parole for burglary. As the police tracked the location information linked to both of these men's phone numbers on the morning of November 10th, the plan continued to thicken. The events that were happening started to become clear from the location pings from their phones. At 4:40 a.m., about the same time as the first break-in, their phones rang off the tower closest to the first home. This trend happened again during the second theft, and it was eerily similar to the time that Amanda was killed, which was around 6:25 a.m. Investigators were able to find the towers closest to the ATMs where Amanda's stolen bank card was used at 6:39 a.m. by following the digital trails that were left behind. The puzzle pieces were slowly coming together to make a clear picture of the crime spree. After looking more closely at Jalen's messages, the third and youngest thief was found. His name is Larry Taylor Jr., and he is 18 years old. When the contact records were looked at again, they showed that Larry had been involved in the crime that morning. Larry was born in 1997, and not much was known about him before he became a key figure in Amanda Blackburn's murder. Like his friends, Larry had a criminal record that included misdemeanor charges. One of these charges was public nudity and indecency, which happened when he showed himself to a woman in a parking lot. Investigators then called the number Jalen had given to his parole board, which turned out to be that of Gita, his older sister. When the cops talked to her, she told them that Larry, Jalen, and Diana had been hanging out at her flat the night before the terrible events. On November 10th at 3:30 a.m., they left the flat. She also told the police that one of the three guys had been wearing a dark vest that morning, which matched what a witness had said about them. The 9mm gun that Gita had brought to the flat and left under her bed was also turned over. It was most likely brought by Jane or Diana. That terrible morning, the three criminals started out by breaking into homes, but their plans quickly turned into something much worse. According to a private source whose name was not given, Larry, Jane, and Diana quickly went outside in the early morning hours with the plan to break into a house and steal money. Larry also had a .38 handgun with him. They walked to the Josler's Brook flat on the east side of Indianapolis. Larry was the first person to get into Josler's flat. He then opened the front door and let the other two people in. After stealing many things, the three of them left the scene of the crime using Jasper's car to get away. At first, they drove to the home of Jalen's child's mother, which is near 38th Street on Kessler Boulevard, so that he could be dropped off there. However, he wasn't able to get in touch with the woman, so they left and went to a nearby neighborhood to commit more thefts. The men were walking around the neighborhood when they saw a house with a back porch that looked like it could be broken into. Sunnyfield Court was home to this particular house, which belonged to Allison Becker, but she wasn't there at the time. The men parked the car and used the back door to get inside the house. After drinking booze inside for a while and stealing a lot of things, they finally left the flat to put the stolen things in their car. Right at this point, Larry told the others that he had seen someone leave a neighboring house, which made them think that the house might not be occupied. As soon as they were done loading their car, the three of them drove to that house. It was where Amanda and Davy lived when they were married. As soon as the guys walked in through the front door, which was unlocked, they saw a purse on the kitchen counter. They took the money inside and split it up among themselves. They also took some credit cards that were inside. While they were still searching the rest of the house, they ran into Amanda out of the blue. The men came up with a plan to get cash by using Amanda's credit cards at an ATM. Amanda refused to go with them the first time they tried to get her to, and when they tried to physically force her to leave, she fought back and fell to the ground. Jalen and Diana were going to go to the ATM, while Larry was going to stay with Amanda and her son, who was still sleeping in his room upstairs. The source also said that Jalen and Diana drove to a nearby Chase ATM, but had trouble using their card there. After that, Jalen and Diana called Larry, who allegedly gave them the right ATM passcode. From there, they drove to a different Chase Bank ATM on Ditch Road near 86th Street. Jalen got out of the car and walked over to the ATM after parking there. He wrapped the pink jumper he got from Allison's house around his face because it was cold outside. This time, he was able to get $400 out of the ATM, which was then split between Jayan and Diano. At the same time, Larry called Diano several times to be angry and demand that they go back to the Blackburns' house to get him. After some time, they did what he asked, but Larry had already left the Blackburns' house and was walking down the street with a rucksack that he had taken from the house. It was said that Larry was scared and told the others to just leave him behind. Jayan was told to drive to an apartment complex on 56th Street in Georgetown, where they would leave him at the home of a person named Shy. While they were on the way, Larry told them that he had tried to sleep with Amanda, but she turned him down. So he shot her once, and then as she fell, he shot her again in the back of the head. After some time, the men left Jason's car near 38th Street and Brookwood Drive in Indianapolis and went their different ways. The police in Indianapolis worked hard and gathered more proof, which led to the arrest of all 3 people responsible for Amanda's tragic death. There's been a big change in a high-profile murder case just 2 weeks after the crime. A teen was arrested this morning for killing the pregnant wife of an Indiana preacher. Overnight, police in Indianapolis confirmed that they had arrested someone in connection with the death of Amanda Blackburn, who was 28 years old. The investigation stretched over almost 2 weeks. A formal charge of murder was brought against 18-year-old Larry Taylor. Larry was charged with 13 different crimes, such as murder, burglary, criminal confinement while armed with a deadly weapon, and robbery resulting in serious bodily harm. Jayan, his partner, was charged with 10 crimes. Diano, the third partner, was first charged with burglary and theft, but as the case went on, he was also charged with murder. It became clear that Larry Taylor may have been involved in even more horrible crimes, adding to his already dark story. Rolando Gonzalez Hernandez, a 27-year-old Mexican man, was found dead next to his car at his apartment complex on November 4, 2015, just 1 week before Amanda was killed. He had been shot in the head. According to witnesses who spoke to the police, Larry had written about a theft and shooting that happened at the same apartment complex, using racial slurs to describe the victim. Larry said that only $10 had been taken from Rolando's wallet during the theft. It was also said that Larry had told other witnesses that he had broken into a woman's home and raped her while holding a gun to her head. Even though these things were said, Larry wasn't charged with these crimes because there wasn't enough proof. He couldn't get away from the results of what he did with Amanda. However, the legal process to bring Larry and his partners to justice was not only complicated, but it also took a long time. It took 2 to 3 years of legal maneuvering, talks, and waiting for a trial. Diano and Jayan finally came to an understanding that meant they had to testify against Larry in his bench trial. The murder charges against them were dropped in exchange for their help. Diano was given a 30-year prison term, while Jalen was given 29 years. No one was tried for Larry Taylor Jr. until December 2021. But when it did happen, something strange happened. Even though Larry was also charged with killing the baby, the lawyer for his defense was able to convince the court not to tell the jury about Amanda's unborn child. Still, the jurors found out that Amanda was pregnant during the trial. This made the judge call a mistrial because she was afraid that the news would make the jury feel sorry for Amanda. In June 2022, there was going to be a second trial. But then another problem came up. There was talk among the jurors about the previous loss after some of them learned about it. So the judge ruled another mistrial, which made the legal process even longer. In October 2022, there was a scheduled third trial for Larry related to the killing of Amanda. The prosecution used Diano and Jayan's statements, cell phone data, and other witness reports in this case. Thankfully, there were no more shocking discoveries during the trial, and by September 2022, a verdict had been made. Larry Taylor was finally found guilty of many charges, including murder, burglary, theft, criminal confinement, car theft, and having a gun without a permit. Larry was given an 86-year prison sentence by the court, ending a crazy legal journey that was connected to the sad death of Amanda Grace Blackburn and her unborn child. The decision must have brought Amanda's family some comfort. Davy even told the people who killed his wife that he forgives them. But Amanda's loss will always leave a hole that can't be filled. Too bad Amanda's son Weston has had to grow up without his mother because he was only allowed to spend 15 months with her. Thoughts of him growing up without his mom are the hardest part of this whole process for me. She gave her whole life to helping people. She did everything with the goal of loving Jesus and other people. Weston turned 9 years old. He has been doing great with his father taking care of him since his dad has changed his life. 2 years after Amanda's sad death, Davy started a new stage in his life when he married Christy Monroy, a single mother who went to resident church and worked out at the same CrossFit gym as Davy. Christy had a daughter called Natalia from her first marriage. On November 4, 2019, she gave birth to Davy's son, Cohen David Parker Blackburn. The blended family is doing great right now, as you can see from their frequent blog posts and busy social media presence. This would normally be the end of our story, but in this case, there are still questions and puzzle pieces that haven't been answered, making some people wonder if there's more to the story. Today, we'll talk about the different ideas that have people interested, so you can make up your own mind. Without further ado, let's begin exploring the uncharted area we haven't visited yet. It is essential to clarify that most of this information is based on claims or rumors. Davy has never been suspected in the official investigation, and we want to make it clear that we have no plans to spread false information or support any lies. We sincerely apologize if anything said in this video has caused harm. That was not our intention. Some individuals speculate that Davy might have been involved in his wife's death and orchestrated the entire incident while he was away. Several factors have fueled suspicions about his innocence. For instance, it came to light during the investigation that Davy had purchased a significant life insurance policy for Amanda just 2 months before her death. The oddity arises from the policy taking effect after 8 weeks, right after Amanda's tragic demise. While this benefited Davy, the question lingers: was it intentional? Reflecting on the day of the break-in, Davy's usual routine was disrupted in peculiar ways. Those familiar with Davy noted that he typically went to the gym at 5:30 a.m., but on this day, he was 30 minutes late. His regular wake-up time remained unchanged, leaving some to wonder about the deviation. Additionally, his workouts, which usually lasted an hour, were only 45 minutes this time, excluding the time spent driving. Some find it unlikely that Davy would sit in his car for an hour without going inside. Consequently, theories have emerged suggesting he might have been waiting for his wife's tragic end to occur. Web sleuths are particularly interested in the 911 call in this case for several reasons. Firstly, the prolonged delay before Davy called 911 raises concerns. He waited almost 12 minutes despite witnessing his badly injured and blood-covered wife. The calmness Davy exhibited during the call is another unsettling aspect. When the dispatcher switched to a different line, Davy remained oddly quiet, stating, "She's fine." This behavior seems strange given the severity of the situation. Davy's initial belief that Amanda had been in an accident, when she had actually been badly struck and left for dead, adds to the mystery surrounding the case. Another aspect that has raised questions is the perception that Davy appeared to be capitalizing on the tragedy. He continued to tweet the hashtag #NothingIsWasted during Amanda's funeral, registered the domain name Nothing Is Wasted soon after the funeral, and incorporated the quote onto her tombstone. He subsequently used the same brand to publish a podcast, a book, and a blog, all discussing his experience with Amanda's death and healing. Critics argue that some of his blog posts and comments seem self-centered, sparking questions about whether he is narcissistic. Strangely, Davy preached a sermon just 2 weeks before Amanda's death, in which he acted out a murder scene, shooting someone multiple times in the back with an airsoft gun. The purpose was to symbolically show how worship could be used as a weapon. Some found this act unsettling, especially given its timing. Davy and his current wife, Christy, dressed up as thieves for a Halloween party in 2018, sharing images on social media. The inclusion of a ladder in the picture, bearing eerie similarities to the way Amanda was killed, added to the unease. Concerns were raised about this outfit choice happening only a few years after the tragic event. There are also worries about how swiftly the police cleared Davy of any wrongdoing. Some believe that Davy was not thoroughly investigated due to his prominence as a pastor and his connections to influential individuals and the police. Ideas from question and answer videos where Davy and Amanda discuss their marriage problems and resolutions have fueled theories suggesting Davy was seeking a way to harm his wife due to marital difficulties. It's crucial to acknowledge that despite these ideas sounding like they could be part of a dark plot, there remain unproven theories. One significant flaw in these notions is if Davy was involved in the murder, why did none of the people present Jalen, Diana, or Larry ever mention his name? Ultimately, the viewer must decide whether the known information represents the truth or if there is something concealed beneath the surface. What are your thoughts on this case now that our story is over? Do you believe Davy had any involvement in his wife's killing, or do you think these claims are entirely unfounded? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for watching.